G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here. Welcome to May the 1st. Workers of the world unite, organise and fight. So said the International Workers of the World. And 79 years ago, on the 1st of May, numbers 11 and 20 squadrons certainly did fight on the 1st of May, as recounted in Jack Riddell's book, from which we read: a reconnaissance by Catalina aircraft A2418, Captain Pilot Officer A.L. Norman, Second Pilot Officer F.A.D. Dierks, was carried out from Bowen to Tulagi via Russell Island, which is to say Bowen to Tulagi. Here we have some interpretation required. I don't see that Russell Island, as mentioned here, on the chart. There is a Rennell Island, and then we have indispensable reefs. We have Mellish Reef, Ken Reef, Rex Reef, Cato Island and Bank, Isles de Chesterfield, Marion Reef, Lehu Reef, Diamond Islets, Tegaros Islets Reef. I'm going to say Russell Island is Rennell Island. It's either been renamed or somebody's got something wrong in the nomenclature. So the idea is Bowen to Tulagi. The aircraft was airborne at 0600 local and waterborne at Tulagi 1600 local. On return from the operation, the captain of the aircraft reported that at 1400 hours local, in position 08 degrees south, 156 degrees east, which is there, a serial 45 flying boat was sighted flying at 4,000 feet on a course of 360 degrees. So it was going straight north. In position 0835 degrees south, 156.35 degrees east, two enemy merchant vessels were sighted on a course of 120 degrees. So those two enemy merchant ships were going that way, headed for the Récifs d'Entrecasteaux, which that's in New Caledonia, belongs to France. Throughout the remainder of the search, there were no further sightings. The average visibility was 15 miles and cloud cover 3/10. Flying time 10 hours. And meantime, at 6 o'clock in the morning at Port Moresby, ready for event C on chart number 1, on the spot indicated there off the end of the pointers, we get the extremely telegrammatic 1st of May, 1300 hours local, A24-17 with captained by Bill Miller, sighted Tulagi invasion force, aircraft fire upon but shadowed force for 5 hours, waterborne Tulagi, 1800 hours local. Whereas here we get considerably more information to the effect: a reconnaissance by Catalina aircraft A24-17, Captain Sergeant C.W. Miller, Second Pilot Sergeant A. Lunnan, was carried out over a southern portion of an area bordered by lines joining 0945 south, 14945 east, which is there. And the position 09 degrees 10 minutes south, 151 degrees 10 minutes east, which is actually there, 40 miles apart. And 200 miles, 400 miles, 600 miles, 800 miles away from where chart number 1 places them as having been, which should be up here. So I got to say, Jack Riddell was a flight engineer. He was not a navigator. And this sort of pretty much highlights the perils and pitfalls of post-war memoirs written by even aircrew. It's not always going to be exactly smack on of the accurate. At 1300 hours local, the captain reported the sighting of 5 merchant vessels, one vessel with number 53 painted on the starboard side, in position 08 24 degrees south, 156 degrees 13 minutes east, and he had been fired upon. Okay, so that is where it says it was. Perhaps position C on the chart is because he filed his report when he got to Tulagi. Maybe he was supposed to come down to here and then fly to Tulagi. That would kind of make sense. It would mean he comes out into the middle of the Coral Sea and then flies across and he picks up anything that's coming along here. So maybe this is not so much inaccurate as just horribly, horribly abridged, and we've really got to read between the lines. So yeah, in case I missed that one, the aircraft was airborne Moresby 0600 local, waterborne at Tulagi at 2000 hours or 8 p.m. local. At 1300 he reported that he'd sighted these things and been fired on. At 1320 hours local, an amplification report stated that a ship was of 2,500 tonne and well armed, including anti-aircraft, and accompanied by smaller vessels having the appearance of an armed trawler. There was no further sightings. Flying time 14 hours. Also, departing Moresby A2414, a flight by Catalina aircraft A2414, flying officer R.M. Hurst, second pilot, pilot officer A. Fleming, was made from Moresby to Tulagi to enable the aircraft to carry out a search of the area west of Tulagi. The aircraft was airborne from Moresby at 0550 local and waterborne at Tulagi at 1600 hours local. A2414 was called in to refuel at Tulagi and to take over shadowing duties and to attack at favourable opportunity the ships previously reported in the area capitals PAUVA, and that's maybe Papua to Vanuatu, to GIZO. Don't know what GIZO stands for. If anybody can enlighten me in the comments, I'm assuming these are grid squares on a different map, not this one either. We then have Tulagi, A2414 from Tulagi Advanced Operating Base back to Moresby. Event D, chart number 1. There we have Event D, showing a flight from Tulagi out to position D with the word force. Tulagi invasion force. ... So that's where the Japanese invasion force was going. So A2414 was airborne at 1827 hours local to search PAUVA, which I'm assuming is Papua New Guinea, to Vanuatu, to Gizo, and 40 miles south of this line, and area PAUVA to GATUKAI, all capitals, all capitalised, which hindsight tells us is out here, and to take over, and Porva to Gatagai was also searched on May the 2nd at 0422 local. Right? Yes. So he's been flying all night. Captain reported sighting of 2 merchant vessels. At 0535 local, bombed merchant vessels, 8,000 tonnes, 5 miles east-southeast of Cape Nepean, nil result. And it doesn't tell us on this map where Cape Nepean might be either. At 0615 local, sighted 2 small vessels south-southeast of Vairu Harbour, returned to Moresby, waterborne at 1200 hours local, flying time 17.5 hours. Catalina A2414 flew 42 hours in 60 hours of elapsed time. And I reckon the crew would have been pretty well knackered by the time they got out of the aeroplane after that. 42 hours out of 60. But the day was not yet over because A2412 had to fly out of Rathmines, which I remind you is back down here. A reconnaissance by Catalina aircraft A2412. Captain N. Fader, second pilot, officer Tiny Lowbridge, was carried out from RAF mines to Townsville. Aircraft returned to operations after overhaul at RAF mines. Airborne 0715 local at Rathmines and waterborne at Townsville 1600 hours local, no sightings, flying time 8 hours 45 minuets. And that brings us to the end of today's video through the sea backroscope from Glen Innes, looking back towards the Coral Sea. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Ciao.